All right. If you don't have all of that written down yet, that's okay. I will put it back up there. All right. Um, but so today we're moving on to something completely new. All right. Dealing with the coordinate plane, quadrants of a coordinate plane, ordered pairs on a coordinate plane, and then looking at a reflection on a coordinate plane. Okay. Now, don't get too excited. Just because there's no fractions today does not mean fractions are gone. I promise. Fractions and decimals will never be gone. Okay. But this should be a little bit of a breath of fresh air because to figure out almost everything for coordinate planes, you don't really have to do any of the 4 operations for math: add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Okay. But this is something you will use for a long time. So we've got to understand what a coordinate plane, a quadrant, an ordered pair, and a reflection is. Okay. So, like I said, in a second, I'm going to cover this up with my whiteboard to go over some things. I will put it back up if you don't have it all written down. Yes. I would draw that coordinate plane. Yes, you don't necessarily have to write all the small numbers. Okay. And as I'm doing some examples on my whiteboard, you may want to write down some other things. Okay. Some people do really well by just listening to what I'm talking about. You may need to write down a few more notes. That's where you have to know, oh, this is probably something I should write down because I might forget it. Okay. So again, don't freak out if you don't have this all copied yet. It'll still be up there. So this is the basic of a coordinate plane. All right. Sorry about my shiny dot, but it's usually too dark if I don't have it on. Actually, it's better. This is a coordinate plane. You have 2 lines in a coordinate plane that are intersecting. Your x-axis is always the horizontal line. Okay? It's just a number line. Your y-axis is always the vertical line going up and down. Where they intersect is always 0. Always. Then, obviously, if the center is 0, if you're going this direction, these would be positive numbers. So this could possibly be 1, 2, and 3 on the x-axis. If this is 0, then obviously these would be negative numbers. It's just like a number line. Okay? You could ignore both of these, and that is just an x number line with 0 in the middle. Then your y-axis is going this way. So the center is 0. Going up, it could be 1, 2, and 3. If this is 0, then these numbers are negative. Okay? Just like a number line. We're kind of taking a lot of things you know and throwing them in together to one thing. Now, here is something you have to realize, and you'll notice this when you're working on your assignment today. It's not always going to count by ones, and that's fine. They could count by twos, 2, 4, 6, negative 2, 4, 6, positive 2, 4, 6, negative 2, 4, 6. They count by fives. They could count by halves. They count by 3/4, I guess, if they want to. Okay? What you have to make sure if you're drawing a coordinate plane is however one side, like the increments are on one side, it has to be the same on all 4 sections of the coordinate plane. So if this side counts by twos, all the others have to count by twos. And if you notice, mine's not on graph paper, so it's not perfect. The spacing is the same between each number. Okay? In your book, it'll be perfect because it's on graph paper. But your spacing between each number has to be the same too. That is like your foundation of a coordinate plane. It's an x and a y axis that intersect. Where they intersect is 0. Okay? So when you're playing Battleship, you're kind of just playing in this quadrant because they're all positive. All right? But an entire coordinate plane has all 4 sections. So that leads to our next topic of quadrants. Each of these, what I would call sections, are actually called quadrants. They are labeled with Roman numerals, okay? So this section here is quadrant 1. This section here is quadrant 2. This section here is quadrant 3. And this section here is quadrant 4. It counts counterclockwise. So you start with 1, which is all positive. Then you go to 2, 3, and 4. It's counterclockwise. So that's quadrants. So that is basically what you wrote down here. Coordinate plane, it's the intersection, it's a x and y axis that intersect. Quadrants, there are 4 of them on a coordinate plane. Okay? Questions about what a coordinate plane is or the quadrants? And like I said, if you've ever played Battleship, you're just playing in quadrant 1. All right? If you've ever used a multiplication table, that's kind of like quadrant 1. Okay? You're taking different lines, connecting them together to see where they intersect, to see what the value is. That's kind of like using a coordinate plane, but you're only up in one quadrant. So a coordinate plane has all 4 quadrants. Okay? That is the basic or the foundation of a coordinate plane. Questions about that before we move on to ordered pairs? Okay. So within a coordinate plane, you will have locations of things, kind of like a map. All right. So if I had a dot here, and again, mine will never be completely perfect because I'm not using graph paper. Okay. There are 2 things we can tell about that dot. We can tell what quadrant it's in, and we can tell what the ordered pair is. Okay. And again, if you didn't get this written down earlier, I will have it up again later, but I just want to go over this. So an ordered pair. On your assignment, you will miss a lot of things if we're not listening. Okay. An ordered pair. First of all, if it's a pair, what should that be a light bulb turn on to us? A pair is telling us what? Not something you eat. Scarlett? Has how many things? More specifically, usually a pair has how many? If you got a pair of shoes, not sure why jeans are called a pair of jeans, but yes. Okay. Ordered pair is going to have 2 things. What 2 things? An X and a Y location. Okay. So when you're talking about an ordered pair, remember pair means 2 things. Pair of gloves, pair of socks, pair of shoes. We've got 2 of them. It is an X and Y location on a coordinate plane. That's what it is. Your X value is always written first. Your Y value is always written second. Okay? And you may have briefly learned about this last year. Right? So ordered pair is 2 things. X value, Y value. X value is always written first. Okay? And again, I'll put this back up in a second. So if we look at this blue dot, when you are writing or typing an ordered pair, typing, you'll have to be careful. I learn, I excel, Canvas, you've got to be careful. You always have to have a parenthesis. You'll have your X value, a comma, a space, your Y value, and a parenthesis. The way you should remember that you have to put a comma in your ordered pair, if you're typing a sentence for your English class and you put a comma in your sentence, what goes after a comma when you're typing? Hopefully. If you're typing away and you're typing a sentence and it's got a comma, what goes after a comma? Mason? Not always. What are you going to hit on your keyboard after a comma? Mateo? Space. Hopefully a space. When you're typing ordered pairs, you have to put a space after the comma. It will mark it wrong. Okay, so X value is always first. On my X-axis, this horizontal line, where is this blue dot located? On my X-axis. Right here. Where is the blue dot? What value on the X-axis is the blue dot? Scarlett? 2. Absolutely. Like I said, there's no math, luckily. Not anything you have to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. This is still math, but it's not computation. So then on my y-axis, which is my vertical line, where is this blue dot located on my y-axis? Mateo? 1. The 1. So your ordered pair for that blue dot would be 2, comma, space 1 with parentheses around it. That's all there is to finding an ordered pair. Where is it on the x-axis? Where is it on the y-axis? X always has to come first. If you put 1, comma, space 2, it's wrong. It is not at x1 and y2. That's up here. It is at 2, 1. X is always first. Justin, how did I get the 1? So if I had graph paper, it would be so much better, but I don't. So you're looking at the x-axis to see where it is at the x and where it is at the y. Okay? Again, it's easier on graph paper. On the x, because it's our horizontal line, it's located at 2. On the y, it's located at 1. So like if you were playing Battleship, I know one of them's a letter on Battleship, not a number. You would say 2, 1. And then they'd be like miss or hit. All right, so it's the same type of idea. You're looking where is it on the x, where is it on the y, and where they intersect is that dot. Does that make sense, Justin? Mm-hmm. And what quadrant is that blue dot in? Quadrant and order pairs are different. Which quadrant, look at your notes if you're not sure what I'm talking about, which quadrant is that blue dot in? Mateo? 1. Quadrant 1. Absolutely. Okay. All right, let's look at a different one. Again, I don't have graph paper, so you just have to kind of envision. I'm not putting dots in between spaces, okay? I'm trying to make it exactly on certain numbers. So again, they're always written in parentheses, separated by a comma. X value always has to be first. Y value always has to be second. What would my ordered pair for my red dot be? X value first, Y value second, ordered pair, not quadrant, ordered pair. Mateo? More specifically. So I'm going to show you what you just told me. 3, 2 would be right here.
Oh, negative. Or negative 3, negative.
All right, look closely. You've given me 3 answers. I promise one of them was right.
Negative 3, negative 3.
Perfect. Okay. Again, if we're wanting to know exactly where that dot is, I have to look at my X value. It's at negative 3. Okay, like he said first, 3, which is fine. You're not going to be the only one that makes that mistake. That's over here. Be careful with your positive and negatives. This dot is in the negative 3x. Then for y, it's at the negative 2x. Everything in quadrant 3 will be double negatives. Everything. Because it's on negative x and it's on negative y. So -3, comma space, -2 with parentheses around it would be your ordered pair for that red dot. Ordered pair. What quadrant is that red dot in? What quadrant is the red dot in? Mason? 3. Absolutely. Okay. All right. One more. Let's see if I can find a color we haven't used. My green, that's actually purple and looks black. All right. Ordered pair. X and Y value. X always has to be first. Y always has to be second. What would my ordered pair for that purplish black dot be? Where is it on the X? Where is it on the Y? Mateo?
0, 2.
Perfect. On the X, if I come straight down to the X, we're at the origin. That is 0. Where is it on my Y-axis? Pretty clear where it is on my Y-axis. It's right on it. 2. 0, 2. X value always has to be first. Now, yes, Justin. How did I get 0? Right here where the two lines intersect is 0 for all lines. So when you come straight down to figure out where it is on your X-axis, it's at the 0. Where they intersect for X and for Y is 0. So if I had a dot right here, that would be 0, 0. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? You have to view these as number lines. X is a number line, Y is a number line. Okay? Now, Mrs. Woods is going to like this because she thinks I might have forgot to say this for star, which is always possible. What quadrant is it in? Okay? Now, I'm going to get wrong answers first, which is perfectly fine. I want the wrong answers too. What quadrant do we think this is in? And I'm 99% sure I'm going to get a wrong answer. Mateo?
1.
All right. Somebody thinks something different? Mateo even thinks something different. What else might it be, Mateo?
1 answer.
Okay. Justin? Okay. We're on the right track. And this is, I would expect wrong answers. If I was sitting in a 6th grade class not teaching it, I would give a wrong answer too. Is it really in any of the quadrants?
No.
No, it is not. So, if a dot falls on any of the actual axes, the x-axis or the y-axis like this, it is in none of the quadrants. None of them. Because it clearly is in none of them. And that is exactly what you would type. None. If it's on the dot, it's in none of the quadrants. Okay, so questions about that? Because that can definitely be confusing. So I want to talk about a couple things real quickly, and this is something you might actually want to write on your notes. Because I learned, bless you, iReady, iExcel, Canvas. You have to type these things. When you're typing quadrants, I'm going to abbreviate. Okay? Obviously, you can't type Roman numerals. So a 1 is just a capital I. Quadrant 2 is just 2 capital I's. Quadrant 3 is 3 capital I's. Quadrant 4 is a capital I and a capital V. Or you might have none. Okay? You can't type Roman numerals like we write them. Roman numerals are kind of like the pillars of Roman Colosseums, and they have lines over them. Okay? There's no spaces between them. It's just a capital I, 2 capital I's, 3 capital I's, an I and a V, or none of them. Ordered pairs. has to be a parenthesis, your X value, comma, a space, your Y value, and a parenthesis. There is a space after the comma when you're writing an ordered pair. This is something important to know. Okay? The way we write a Roman numeral is different than how we type a Roman numeral. Everyone that wants that got that? Question, Mateo?
Are we doing it online or?
You are. I'll talk about that in a second. We're not all done yet. We have one more thing to discuss. I know there's a lot today. But you don't have to add, subtract, multiply, or divide fractions, so that's a good thing. All right, so the last thing we have to talk about is reflections. Okay? I'm going to let you kind of write while I talk. How many of you have ever used your camera, put it in like selfie mode or whatever it's called, and taken a picture? I have 2 people that are honest in this room. A few people. Oh, wait, what? I wasn't listening. Here was the question. How many of you, maybe not your camera, someone else's, have taken your phone, went to the camera, put it in selfie mode, and taken a picture? Probably 90% of you. What do you notice when you look at that picture? Have you ever really looked at it and noticed anything and been like, oh, that's weird? What do we notice besides I hate selfies of myself? That's not what I'm talking about. You might not like your pictures either. That's not what I'm referring to. What do you notice when you look at a selfie? Or when someone posts one, you can tell, yeah, that was a selfie, not an actual picture. What are some things that you can tell that make you realize that was taken in selfie mode where it's projecting backwards? Mateo?
It doesn't like show the whole background.
Okay, possibly. Leah?
My face is kind of like, I don't know, it looks different.
It does. Does anyone know why? I would look more of like some items in the picture might give us more like what we're thinking. Like your hair. If you have it pulled to one side, what would you notice in the picture?
Be on the other side,
It's the opposite side. Okay?
or TV's on the
Or yes. So when you're taking a selfie, it is just like what we're getting ready to talk about. It is a reflection. Okay? Your camera on your phone doesn't physically flip around. So it uses a mirror in there, and what you're taking a picture of is a reflection. So everything in that picture, when it's in selfie mode, is the opposite because it's reflected. Okay? So those of you that actually have your hair go certain ways, sometimes take a selfie and actually look at that. You'll notice it's going the other way. Okay? If your hair's pretty neutral, how it's laying, girls that have earrings, have an earring in one ear and not in the other, take a picture. In the picture, it's going to look like it's on the other ear. Okay? Or I'll notice it with people that have watches. Like most people wear their watch on their left hand. Okay? But when you take a picture, in the picture, it's going to look like it's on your right hand. Selfies are in reflection mode. Because like I said, when you click the little flip on your camera screen, the camera doesn't flip. It's using a mirror to take a reflection picture. So it should be called a reflection, not a selfie. So that might help us understand what we're going to talk about next. So I'll be quiet while you write, and I'm going to draw out another coordinate plane. And again, I'll have this back up in a second. So if you don't get it all written by the time I show our example, you'll still have time to write. All right, I'm going to cover it up for a minute, but don't worry, it'll be back. So, reflection. Okay. If I have a point here, this black dot. First of all, someone tell me what quadrant it's in. Scarlett? Quadrant 1. Perfect. What would, if these are all just increments of 1? Guess I should have labeled that. What is the ordered pair of that black dot? Ordered pair of that black dot. And if you don't yet remember what an ordered pair is, that's fine. We just talked about it today. Look at your notes. Ordered pair of that black dot. Jordan, what do you think it is? Close. You got half of it. If you just told me 3, and I'm not picking on Jordan, I would put the dot right here. So we're almost there. Mason? Nope. He's right with 3. That's the first number I need. Absolutely. Natalia? 3, 1. X value is 3. Y value is 1. So it'd be parenthesis 3, comma, space 1, parenthesis. 3, 1. Ordered pairs. Remember, pair of socks, pair of shoes, pair of gloves. We have to have 2 things. Ordered pair has to have 2. Reflection. When I think of a reflection in a coordinate plane, I'm thinking of like rolling the ball. So if this was a ball, okay? Wow, it just erased it. If I wanted to reflect it or roll across the y-axis, I'm going to take this dot and I'm going to roll it this way, and it's going to end up right here. That's a reflection. I'm just rolling it across the y-axis. So this ordered pair would be 3, 1. What is the ordered pair of its reflection? What is the location of this dot? What is the ordered pair of this dot? I should have changed the color. What's the ordered pair of that dot, which would be its reflection? Justin? Say that again. Close. Look at where it is on the X. Look at where it is on the Y. Scarlett? Can't be or. Can only be one right answer. We're getting there. Mason?
-3 and 1.
Perfect. X value right here, -3. Y value right here, 1. So if you notice, like the note said, when you're reflecting across the y-axis, the y stays the same. The x is the opposite because we're just rolling it straight across. So the y does not change. The y stayed 1. The x is what changed, and it's just its exact opposite. So that's why when you reflect across the y-axis, y stays the same, x is the opposite. So if I reflect across the x-axis, I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to roll it across the x, and it would end up here. What is the ordered pair of the blue dot? Natalia? I didn't hear the second one. Okay? It's still at x3, but now it's at y -1 or close to it. I don't have graph paper. So again, that is why in your notes, if we reflect across the x-axis, which means we take this ball and we roll it straight down, the x is not changing. It's still at x3. The y is what changed. It's the opposite. So you're rolling it straight across the x-axis. X stays the same, but the y is the opposite. So whatever you're reflecting it across, that value stays the same. The other one is the opposite. Justin, -1? Because if you go over, that number is your y value. So if you go across, again, I don't have graph paper. So it's at 1. If I had graph paper, it'd be exactly at 1. Does that make sense? You're looking to see where it is on the y. Remember, the y always goes up and down. Okay? Questions? All right, before we open our computers and get started, I want to go over a couple things. First of all, your portfolio is due today. So if you have not submitted that, you have tonight still. Remember, when you're on the agenda, in the assignment box for the last 2 days, that's where your assignment is. Okay? You'll click Start Assignment. Then you'll click Google Drive. Mine's not going to show up because I'm just logged in as a fake student. You'll search in your Google Drive for your math first semester portfolio with your name. Then you're going to click whatever it says, add or select, and then you click submit. That is due today. Then what you're working on today, you will have to use your book for this because I did not put the graphs on the assignment. Okay? The questions are typed in this assignment in Canvas, but you're going to have to look at page 399 to look at those graphs. So if you'd rather do it in your book first and then just insert all the answers, you can. But this 399 through Canvas has to be submitted. I'm not collecting your book page. So if you prefer to do it in your book, fine. I don't care. That might make it quicker for you when you go to insert them into Canvas, but you have to insert the answers into this assignment. Questions? Your 4 IXLs are not due Friday. Those will be due next week, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't get started on them. One thing I appreciate earlier, James must have been done with his notes. Okay. I got on to one kid for being on his computer, but I didn't say anything to James. James, because what were you working on? IXL. Did you start with X2? Did you get it finished?
Yeah.
Pretty simple, right? And I hadn't even talked about it. I didn't say anything to him about being on his computer because he was doing math. And he has 1 done already. Okay? So portfolio is due this evening. You had 2 class days to work on that. Unless you were absent Monday or Tuesday, it is due tonight. And then you're going to get started on this $3.99. Any questions? Okay, then I will be quiet and let you work.